Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Women's Wisdom Circle, our third edition, our third call. And we might have two other people joining us in the film strip in a little while. Just wanted to share how this emerged and what I've seen emerging from the last two calls. We have explored the space of co-creation and just allowing what is emerging through our connection to speak through the space of our interconnection. And what has been overarchingly coming through is the need to model the heart space and the feminine essence to balance out the out of balance mind energy, which is often linked to the masculine energy, but really it is this mind energy. And it was actually very interesting. A few days ago, I was on a call with Don Oscar. I don't remember his last name right now. He is a Peruvian shaman, and he was sharing that the mind pollution is actually a bigger problem than the environmental pollution. And I thought, oh my God, this is powerful, because really the whole systemic problems that are being created come from that mind which is disconnected from the heart. And what we are attempting to model here is how to connect to that heart space and to model the feminine energy, the heart energy, and see how we can take care of ourselves from generating that pattern. And the other theme that I have picked up on the last two calls is the space of how do we do radical self-care? This has come out. How do we really take care of ourselves first? Because it all starts with us, each of us. I mean, this is not just the women, the men also. If we do know how to take care of ourselves, we will have an impact around us quite differently than if we are in the codependent caregiver pattern where we take care of everybody else and neglect ourselves. So those are just the themes that I have seen emerging in our two calls. And what I would like to do now, perhaps, is a connection exercise, the way we have done the last two times. And the first time it was Harriet, and maybe some other time, another one of you would like to do it. So I'm going ahead for today, but please volunteer if you want to do it next time. It's going to be a shared co-creation. So if you just like to close your eyes for a moment, I will do the same. And take a few deep breaths in. Fully exhaling and releasing. Releasing bottled up mind energy. Another deep breath in and fully releasing the breath. Connecting inside. Another deep in breath. Really letting go of any extra baggage that will prevent some genuine connection to emerge to our heart space. And as you continue to breathe in a rhythm, at your normal rhythm, just take a moment to connect to the earth, the elements of the earth. The 5 elements, actually we are made up of the 5 elements, not only of earth, we're also made up of fire, of water, of air, and the 5th element, spirit, that heart space, that connection to the larger field of life. All around us, powerful energies and forces are available if we know how to tap into those dimensions consciously and allow for guidance to emerge and to come through. I'm just taking a moment to connect to the earth and the universe, and just imagine that your physical body is an antenna connected and grounded to the earth and connected to the light in the stars. And allow that guidance to move down into your heart. And from your heart, I invite you to hold hands in a circle. Just imagine the virtual circle we are on all around the world, really. New Zealand, the US, Finland, Germany, England, France. There might be even somebody joining us from Hawaii later on. Just allow that energy from the heart space to move through the circle, perhaps to your right hand, and receiving energy to your left hand. And allowing that energy to bring in whatever you need. If you need healing, use that energy to heal any physical elements or any out of balance element in the psychic realm, where everything generates from anyway. Just allowing that energy to fill you, and taking a moment to check in with your inner self. What is emerging out of this connection? What wants to emerge? What speaks to you and wants to be voiced? Wants to be witnessed and heard? Taking over deep breath and gradually, consciously disconnecting your hand, but staying connected in the energy, and gradually coming back to normal consciousness. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. And be present in the circle. Hello, Deborah. Join us during the meditation.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
So if we use that theme of radical self-care that I have heard, what does it look like for you when you hear that term? What does it mean, radical self-care?
Well, for me, it looks like time for myself. So I really have to stop and listen to my heart, to the guidance, and not rushing off in getting lost with all these mind activities to reconnect to the source of trust in myself. And this is difficult because it's like I forget it all the time, and also becoming aware of my true needs. That's really difficult. Somehow, from childhood, it has not been obvious that my needs were important. I got what my parents thought I needed, but they were not very sensitive to my true needs, so I don't really know them myself either.
Mm. That's interesting that you are sharing this, Hyatt, because this last few days I've been doing some deep reflection on some of my own lack of having been taken care of in terms of my deeper, very childhood needs, you know, and it always comes down to the lack of self-love, really.
Mm.
We haven't had this modeling.
No, not at all.
It is the journey, really, to learn to love yourself and to learn how to take care of yourself and to know how to parent yourself, really.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
true.
You know.
Yeah, because so often we're told that, you know, if you focus on yourself, it means that you're being selfish, and that's not a good thing. That's a lot of what I grew up with, you know. You have to look out for the people, and you know, take care of them and be kind, and all of that means that you put yourself sort of last on the list, if you like, if there was a list you're going to do. And for me, it shows up in the should sentences, you know. Well, I'd like to do this, but actually I should be doing that because, you know, whatever the reason might be. And I think it's good. I think, you know, any kind of change, you need awareness, don't you? You need more awareness, and becoming more aware of how we're actually doing this is a good starting point, and becoming, for me, becoming aware of those shoulds in my self-talk, if you like, was very helpful, because then I can catch it. I'm more, who's saying that? That's not, which little voice is that in my head, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's something that just came to mind when Harriet was talking there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the voices in your head. Yeah, sometimes the original voice is no longer here, but now it is really you talking to yourself, you know? The old voices.
For me, it's a whole family of voices. You know, with different roles, different needs, different ideas about the world, and you know, when we talk about listening to the inner voice, we really should know to which one to listen, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I always make a distinction between those, like the little voices in my head, with my inner voice, which for me is, you know, the voice of the soul, the voice of the heart, the one that speaks my highest truth, really.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's not obvious when you first become aware of these things, and that could be something we could all help each other with, you know, to raise our own awareness of our own self-talk and what we're listening to at any point.
Yes.
Yes.
So yesterday, I heard this described as beautiful selfishness. Being true to your real self as beautiful selfishness, honoring that. And I thought that was a really helpful way of recognizing that it is honoring the self, but in a really beautiful and caring and necessary way.
I would like to address a little bit the echo we have. I think we should mute ourselves while we are not speaking, so we make it better understandable what we say. Okay?
And to mute yourself is up on the screen. You have a button if you put your mouse up. Elizabeth, I see that you have joined us. Welcome. Hi.
Aloha, Eileen.
Is in Hawaii. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, thank you, and thank you so much for helping me figure out this whole Google Plus
you made it, right? Yeah. Well, you know, on that same topic, how do we know which voice is speaking? I think it is through the body. I'm just going to share an example for myself. Something that I want to do for the longest of time, and I know some of you are familiar of what I'm doing, you know, and Elizabeth is in that same program that I am in right now. And I have used a lot of excuses to not move forward as fast as I could because I have been traveling a lot and time zones changes and all that. And that's why I made the choice to really stay in France for about 2 months and really box myself in to do whatever I have to do to get it off the ground, etc. And when I made that choice, I realized that I still had all those thoughts which made me run away and wanted me to procrastinate and to push things forward and to not do it and to not do it. And what I realized, it is that deep fear of being judged if I speak things up publicly and to be rejected. So I don't even begin. Then I run no chance of being rejected and judged. And if I don't do it, then I don't also get what I really want. So what I noticed in those last few weeks is that it creates a lot of stress when I don't do something that I really want to do, because this is something that I really want to do. It is not a should, it is not a must. This is coming from my guidance. This is coming from that other part, you know, that spirit part, that heart. But what is in the way is all those conditioned old patterns that are now emerging in Technicolor, because I have kind of not run away from them, so I see them. And for me, what works is, first of all, noticing, you know, and then noticing how it feels in the body when I run away from it. Then it creates stress. I don't feel good, and it kind of contracts in my body when I do this to myself. So I have a choice. At any moment, I have a choice to get in the driver's seat and become conscious of what is going on subconsciously that might have run a good part of my life up to now, but observing it, noticing it. When I notice it, I can make a different choice and then move forward. And the moving forward might be difficult. At times it feels like, oh my God, it's another dragon I have to slay. Really, you know, it feels like a huge task. And whenever I do a little step towards it, I really feel a lot of energy and feel very good, you know, I feel very high. So I know this is the right direction. And it still is not easy. That's really what is emerging for me, you know. It's not necessarily easy.
If I can just jump in again there, it's what happens, isn't it, when we really go for something we really want to do, all of the issues, let's call them issues, that we have not resolved, they show up again as lessons for us to, you know, hopefully take on board, deal with. Like if it's a voice, you know, speak to it, be able to tell it that you are in charge now, and that you're making a different choice. You don't want it to be doing what it's been doing all your life. Thank you very much, but you know, I'm a big girl now and I'm moving on. I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious, but that's the kind of that's what happens. And I think they're all, for me, I think they're all lessons that are there for us to learn, and they just keep coming back. You know, the lesson will be repeated until it's learned. We're here for experience on this planet, aren't we? And these are the experiences that show up. And we don't, you know, if we got to the point where we see them, where we can see them not as negative things, but as an opportunity, as you said, when you move towards it, it feels great, and you feel like you're progressing and you're full of energy. Imagine if you did the whole thing and not just a little step towards it. And that's how I'm by no means a master at this, you know. I'm just kind of on the path with you here, but I resonated with that because I've been working on similar stuff, so I wanted to share that. Thank you.
I would like to jump in and say agree with you, because I think the very important point is the perspective with which we see things. Mm-hmm. And the main thing is to be able to change, to shift into another perspective. Because the change in itself, it's automatic when you see it from the other side. But as long as you stay here and see it always in this perspective, life is hard, for instance, then life will always be hard, you know. Unless you really can push it in some way away and jump over to the other. No, life is, as you said, interesting. Life is, you know, a challenge, but in the positive thing, because thanks God that there is a challenge, because otherwise we wouldn't develop, you know. So.
Can I just actually add to Heidi? I think it's interesting because I've been, as Eileen knows, I've been writing my ebook and getting ready for my launch, which will be in about a month. And I write a lot. Actually, one of the basic premises of radical self-care is just what you're saying. It's a very small shift in perspective. And part of that shift is to bring together your total willingness without knowing and your courage. And then it's as small as a shift to know that the universe is supporting you, that you are here because the universe wanted you to be here. You are here because the universe supports us all. And I think if we can just get that little shift, I think that's partly what you're speaking to, Heidi.
Yes.
That once we have that, then the way opens up, and we don't have to go back and like dig up all the old stuff. We don't have to, you know, figure out who did what to whom. We can just stop the blaming, stop all the judgment, and just start to take the small steps, which is the radical self-care. It's like standing for ourselves, taking care of ourselves in small ways. And that's why this is so cool that we're doing this together, because it does take support. And Eileen, that's how you and I first came together, so that I'm happy to support you. Now I've gotten a couple steps farther along the process, and I'm totally happy to go over any of that with you. I'll actually be, tomorrow I'm flying to Istanbul, so I'll actually be closer to your time zone.
All right, let's do a talk. Yeah, that's
great. I'm totally there for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's so important, you know, to have buddies and to have support. Definitely, you know. And you know what came up for me when I heard you speak, it's about taking responsibility for our choices. Even for me, in the past, because this is not the first time I'm looping through those things, you know, and you always go a little deeper into the healing, you know. But for me, what has really helped me is when I took responsibility for my incarnation, for having chosen my parents and the set of circumstances I have lived through in my life. Mm-hmm. And then there's no blaming anymore, because you have chosen that to learn the lessons that come along with the challenges, and then just moving forward. Doesn't mean that those old unconscious patterns of the first 7 years of life don't come up, but you have a different way, like you said, the shift. You look at it from a different perspective, and you're not using all the outdated patterns of blaming or judging. That really.
But you know what? I mean, maybe there's no lessons. Maybe we're just here to have great fun and to play with each other and enjoy each other. And I kind of given up the idea of we're here to have all these lessons and we got to teach this and that. It's like, let's just go have fun.
Let's have fun.
So just another perspective, but it's all that perspective.
Yeah, I was listening today to a wonderful video about for women how to reconnect with their feminine genius. And there was one video about how can you find pleasure in this moment for you. And this seems to be very challenging for many people because we are not, somehow allowed to seek for pleasure. And that's a part, I think, also of the radical self-care, that you allow yourself to look for pleasure, and only you know what is pleasurable.
Right, totally.
Bridget, you wanted to say something? You had unmuted yourself.
I just wanted to offer the perspective that it's all just an experiment. It's a creative experiment to discover what brings us joy. And if we're connected at the heart level and at the spirit level, we're connected with what is real joy, if you like, rather than a materialistic experience of the world. So if we're willing to step into this experiment and see it creatively as what am I experimenting with now, and does this bring me closer to the thing that brings my heart and my spirit alive? And when we're connected at that level, then that's what we're trying to do. If everyone was connected at that level, we would have a beautiful world. It just wouldn't. There would be no chance of it being anything other than a beautiful world. So that's my perspective on it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Joy, yes. And the real sense of what is success, this is what emerges for me when I hear you speak. And last month, I think, Deepak Chopra and Oprah had a series of meditation every day, which was on success. And really, it was really all about that. Real success is not necessarily, okay, I've made so much money, or I have a house, or I have this. It is those, when you overcome something and you have this connection to that heart space. I don't know how to express it right now, but this is, it was such a valuable meditation series that they had, and it was about that. It was about experiencing that connection. Really, that's real success. That connection to your soul, to who you really are. And not all the kind of stuff that you have told you should have to be successful and to have this kind of stuff, the possessions that very often kind of just weigh us down and don't really bring us the lasting joy that you're talking about,
Yes, and I think that when we're willing to model this, others will see it, and they'll want to be part of the thing that we're part of, because this I remember when having conversations about, sustainable business and those sorts of things, and one of the things that I learned then, or I understood and took on board, was that if living the way I'm choosing to live doesn't look like fun, why would anybody join me? Why would anybody join me if it doesn't look like fun and joyful and a great way? So it's and yesterday, one of my sons, I have two sons, and one of them was at the dining room table, and he was studying, and he looked so sad, so very, very sad and distressed. And I invited him to come and sit with me on the sofa, and I asked him why was he looking so sad, and he said, "I'm not enjoying this, Mum. I'm not happy. I'm not happy in my studies." And so I just looked at him and said, "Don't do it. Stop. Just stop doing it. You don't have to do it." And I couldn't believe it. This, 20-year-old man just bawled his eyes out. He just cried and cried and cried. He was so grateful to be told he didn't have to do it. And even though, he's grown up with me and I've had this way of being in the world, that people need to learn it. They need to be told it. They need to understand, and we need to speak about it. And he's a different person today. He's going to finish what he's doing right now, and then he's not going to go back next semester until he decides. And he said, "I don't know what I have to do in the world, Mum." And I said, "You don't have to do anything. Stop thinking you have to do anything. You don't. And you don't have, there's no should or must coming from me. So just be who you are and experiment with your life." And, the tears of joy and happiness were just, they were a real blessing. Just wanted to share that.
Beautiful.
Yes, yes. And that is modeling a different way of being a parent. Really. And
can I just jump in here as well, because that is just so like what happened to me about a year ago. My son, the one who's now, he's 22 now, but a year ago he was actually living with me, having done year one at university. He was doing a work placement. He was training to be a chef, and it was what he'd always liked and enjoyed and wanted to do. But he was kind of encouraged to go to a university and get a proper qualification, And he did it. He passed year one. He came. He did the placement, and then he had some health issues, and he had to stop for a couple of weeks. And while he was off, he sat down. He said, "Mom, I need to tell you something." I said, "What is it?" "I can't do this. I don't want to do it. I can't work like this, for the rest of my life. I'm only 21. What am I?" And he was just finding the actual work environment and the whole thing. He loves cooking, but the way it was, and it was I have to say, I forgot. Is it Bridget who was just speaking? Yeah. I have to say, Bridget, I wasn't as calm as you. I mean, I was outwardly, but it was a real testing moment for me, because here I am telling people, as a coach, that you don't have to do anything if you don't like it, and you can change, and you can, follow what you love and all the rest of it. And yet here was my son saying this, and so what am I going to do? I couldn't tell him anything different. So we had that conversation, and I didn't exactly coach him. I don't know that you can coach your own children. You just talk to them, don't you? But he was just so grateful for it. And this is a year later. He's now moved away. He's gone back to Greece to his father. He's just gone to an island. He's going to be working in a restaurant in the summer there, and he's much happier. So it's just very similar. I just had to sort of share that it was for me, it was kind of a test. Okay, so you tell people, so what are you going to say now, and I was very happy that I was able to stay true to what I believe is, is right, or what I believe anyhow for me, and give him that support as well. And it was lovely to hear you're doing the same thing. Yeah. Thank you.
Let me actually just add one little piece. I have a daughter who is now 32. She's very smart, reads really well, hated school, and I never made her go, so she didn't go to high school. And she really worked a lot of different jobs, kind of barista, low-paying jobs. And then one day she decided she didn't want to live her life like that and be a barista when she was, 40 or something. So she went herself off to Rome. She interviewed schools. She went to different places. She ended up picking a school in Rome, and she went through and did it, and then she went to another university and did her master's. She started when she was like 26, and she just did what she wanted on her time, and so you just did the right thing. They're so smart. I know for sure that the universe has their backs. I know they will end up in the right place. It's really great.
Yeah, and those moments of challenges that come up for our children, just like for us, they are choice points where we are confronted with what doesn't work for us. And then we take a little different direction and explore a different something until we find that joy, like you were talking about, Bridget. That feeling that we are aligned, we are not kind of split. And I had a similar kind of conversation with my daughter a few years ago. And last year, actually, constantly, she is in law school and felt very, very, very not in her place, and felt like she has to now. She's finishing in December, so she felt she had to go and apply for big cabinets, And I said, you don't have to. You can, law can just be an education, and you do something else, whatever, So she did it anyway because the pressure is intense in those schools, And then she discovered herself. She got an interview, and she said, no, I could never really work there. And then last year she went to The Hague and worked for the what do you call this? Like the procurator, and I cannot find my English word, for the people who defend the crown, etc., whatever, I don't know what you call those things. And there she really found what she would like to do. She found that it's more in harmony with what she believes in, that she fights on that side rather than defending some private interest, for some kind of it didn't agree with her, So it's same thing, we have to be congruent. That's the term I was looking for, congruency between what we believe in and how we live our lives. And then some things flow better.
I think that's a key point of radical and beautiful self-care is finding the way to be congruent in everything, and so moving from the dissonance of when things are not congruent to this place of congruence in our beliefs and in our behaviors, and then if we can do that, then we are really honoring ourselves and taking care of ourselves in this really quite radical way. Because many people will have thoughts but not necessarily behave aligned with them, or they will even have beliefs or values, but they're not aligned with those things. They don't behave in alignment with them because they don't recognize that in every moment it's a choice to live aligned or not. And so they live these lives of, you know, must and should and have to, and we see the results of that around us all the time. So I think that this alignment, this congruency is a major step towards radical self-care.
Do you have a practice of alignment? I have one. I'm just curious if you have a practice of connection and alignment and to your guidance system.
Well, if you're asking me, Aline, the thing for me is does, when I think about doing something, does this bring me joy? It's really as simple and basic as that for me. And if it doesn't bring me joy, then am I choosing to do it because out of must or should or have to? And I haven't done much in my life that is from that place. Even so looking over the last 22 years, whilst I've been bringing up my sons, you know, even though some of that is really sort of I really should look after my sons well, it is still from the place of choice. It's still I'm choosing to do this because I love them, and it does bring me joy to take care of them. And so that's what, you know, my life is about now. Is I've brought them to this place. The youngest is now 20, and I can return to doing things that bring me even more joy. So that's the question for me. Does this bring me joy? Am I happy here? And if I'm not, then I'll walk away from it. And I've walked away from many things. Asking that question. Yeah.
Thank you.
And can I add also, so Bridget, so do you feel that in your body?
It's a funny thing about me and my body. Yes, I do. I feel it in my. I feel strong. You know, I feel. So yes, I feel strong when I'm aligned and doing what brings me joy. That's how I would describe it, Elizabeth.
And so, because sometimes I feel it like around me as well. I feel it in my body, but I also sometimes feel it around as a field.
Well, for me, then I do feel it around me as a field, but that's when I'm on the ocean and when I'm on my boat. So then I feel a total connection, and I just know I'm in the right place when I'm there.
Thanks.
But it's also why you know, you can see the sun has risen outside my window, and now I'm in light. And I started this session in darkness because I'm watching the dawn. And so, you know, all the choices of my life have been aligned with ensuring that I'm deeply connected with nature. So that's really important to me.
And you are totally lit up. You're enlightened right now. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I have a little practice that I do every day, connection practice, and I'm willing to share what works for me. I also love nature, and when I can go out, I connect to the trees, and sometimes I don't have the opportunity to have trees whenever I am in a place where that doesn't exist, but I always have collected stones or pieces of wood or shells. I have an altar where I keep all those things that connect me, that have a story. They each have a story. They bring me back to moments where I felt that connection. So it's like my connection in my home to those places. And every day I do this. Sometimes I do it a few times a day. And it helps me get connected to that heart center and to become congruent. And I usually do that before I meditate. And then when I meditate, guidance comes through and directs my day. It's like the next few steps I need to take will just emerge. I don't figure it out with my head. So I allow that emergence then of what I'm to work on next. That's my connection exercise. Does anybody have another one or something they would like to share about that?
Mine's quite similar to yours, Aline. I also have an altar with things that are important to me. Things that there are what you might expect. There are some crystals. There are usually some fresh flowers. There's some part of nature that inside the house, and so it's that and meditation and visualization and just connecting with my higher self, my inner guidance, and so I do it through meditation in the morning, and then during the day, if I'm feeling a little out of kilter, let's say, I can always breathe. I can always stop and breathe. That's like a basic one, and then do any of the other things that you've all mentioned. I live about 5 minutes from a river, so I can just go and walk along the river. It goes into a beautiful park. That's my closest. It's kind of urban nature, but it's okay. Or sometimes just put some music on and have a good dance, if I want to be a bit more energetic. So it depends. There's not just one thing that I do, but lots depending on how I actually feel. I dance. What's that phrase? Dance as if nobody's watching. So with the curtains closed, Yeah.
That's actually a powerful way to shift energy. To just
yes.
on and dance. I do that also. When I feel stuck with something, I just shake it out. Move the body. Yeah. Deborah, you look so nice coming from the hairdresser, right?
Thank you. I've got a ringing phone in the background, so I don't know if you can hear it or not.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, let me mute myself. I'll come back after it stops ringing. Okay. So one of the things that I'm connecting with is just how many of these ideas I've worked with over the years. I think about teaching people to be self-responsible before they have to go out and be responsible for someone else, that sometimes that actually is helpful in focusing on what's best for them. And then a phrase that I've used for years with people is making conscious choices, and so I hear that coming through as well. And just allowing people to be where they are rather than trying to push them into what they think they should be or should do. So I like that you said that, Bridget, about the shoulds and the musts, because it just really puts so much judgment on people. And so I really like listening and hearing and hearing the validation of the work that I've been doing for many, many years. So that's really nice. And I do grounding work every day. I start out my day with a grounding piece, and then the people that I work with, a lot of times they have a lot of anxiety, so I'm constantly reminding people to breathe, and so when I'm reminding them to breathe, I'm breathing as well. And that's just a part of that connection. And I'm at that point in my life where I can choose what I want to be doing, and my focus each day is, does this bring me joy? And if it doesn't bring me joy, then I don't want to be doing it anymore.
Yeah, that's a good event. Does it bring me joy?
I would say that it happens that not automatically things immediately bring joy, but you need a certain degree of involvement to you know, I have a special example. For instance, for a long time I was against computers, sitting in front of computers, and in the last 2 years, I have developed such a joy in learning programs and doing things, doing these hangouts as a host and doing other things. Now I have created an ebook and learning that and all these things, and it really brings me joy, which I would never have thought before, and I've never experienced if I, after half a day or even a week, had given up and said, oh, this is not more fun. So it's a little bit to you know, to see the joy is okay, but you have first to try a little bit if it brings you joy or not. That's my idea.
Yeah, and that, what I'm hearing, Heidi, is it comes back to what is wanting to emerge through you, your intentions. Mm-hmm. And what calls you? What is important to you?
Exactly. And I thought, often when I was tired and I have to learn that too, and I thought, you know, you need to learn that when you want to do what you want to do, so you have to go through that. And then I discover, oh, it's not so bad, you know.
Yeah, it's the process then. Now, when the intention is clear and you are congruent with yourself, then those things become almost incidental. You just buckle up and learn it, you know. I have a lot of those to learn myself too. Yeah. All right. We're approaching the hour. I don't know if there's anything else emerging through our space right now that we would like to express. Perhaps I invite you to just to take a minute before we conclude to just tell me what you're taking away from this conversation. And do you have any idea on what you would like to move forward with?
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
I think what I take away is just what a privilege it is to be together and to share in this way. And then the question is also, is it possible on Google Plus to like write? Can we write to each other? Or is there like a little email? Or I guess how to connect, I guess.
Okay. The email that I have sent out to the circle has everybody else's email on also. And this is another something that I am learning right now with Heidi, you know, in the Hangout course that I'm taking, is I create an event page always for the Hangout, and you can put comments on the event page, you know. We could actually communicate also, or you could leave your comments on the event page, and then it's connected to that Hangout on the event page. And this, I think, stays, if I am understanding correctly. I think it stays. It's like a permanent fixture. It stays. And the first time we had the Hangout, we used the comments on the side. You know, everybody was kind of putting some comments in. This hasn't happened the last 2 times. So we had pasted those into a Drive document, and we had sent it out to the people.
Mm-hmm. One other way of doing it would be to create a G+ community if people want to have that, and then that's more permanent, if you like, just you know, like a Facebook group, but it's on G+, and then it's easy.
I have the Wisdom Factory community since a week, so if you want to join there, as this is called Wisdom Circle, this is also really
yeah.
But for that, I have written in the description that I want only people which have their about page in Google Plus filled out, so that there is not the blue head, so that we can see the picture and there is a little bit of a description about you, you know, so that that is not so anonymous. I think we need to tell each other who we are a little bit at least.
Yeah.
And you invite us then, Heidi?
I can do that, yeah.
Can you do that?
I'm not sure if I have everybody's Google Plus profile, because especially if there is no photo in, it is hard to distinguish people who have the same names. And
yeah, you're right.
The best thing would be that you circle me, and then I get the notice that you have circled me, and then I know that's you. You know.
Is it a closed community? Do you have to invite us? It's not.
No, it's not closed completely. It is a public community, but it is on approval or invite. You can also find it and then ask for being admitted. But I don't want to have everybody in and spam, you know. So I asked for the about page so that I see if people are in our wavelengths, let's say, no, and not somebody who wants to abuse that for marketing or whatever.
Can you say the name again, please, Heidi?
The Wisdom Factory.
Wisdom Factory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I found the Google Plus page, but this isn't a community, is it?
No, you must go to the communities and and look there.
Right, okay.
But when you circle me on the page, then I know, you know.
Well, we are already friends, you and I, in G+.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think with 2 of you, Harriet too, we have circled before, but not with the others. And I remember that I
remember where.
Huh? Yeah, okay. So, fine.
All right, I'm going to stop the broadcast now, and then we can just continue to work after that. Okay? So thank you for having shown up, and we'll talk again next time when we schedule our next hangout.